Right now, somewhere in your house, a miniature apex predator is watching you. It has the same neurological architecture as a tiger, the same high-velocity threat detection software as a leopard, and a set of retractable claws designed specifically for unzipping the life out of small mammals. And yet, it is currently sitting on your keyboard, demanding that you stop working to provide it with a precisely measured portion of salmon-flavored pâté. If you ask the average owner what their cat thinks of them, they'd say the cat loves them, or perhaps that the cat is the boss. But what if that's entirely wrong? What if behind those vertical pupils there is no concept of a human at all? What if to your cat you are simply a very large, profoundly incompetent, and biologically confusing roommate who happens to be a member of its own species? To understand this, we have to look at the hardware of domestication. When we look at dogs, we see an animal that has undergone a radical psychological overhaul. Dogs have evolved specific facial muscles to mimic human expressions and oxytocin loops that trigger whenever they make eye contact with us. But cats are different. Biologically speaking, the house cat is barely domesticated. They are self-domesticated, which in evolutionary terms means they didn't change for us. They simply tolerated us because our grain stores attracted mice. They didn't trade their wild identity for a human-centric one. They kept the software and just changed the environment. And this has led to a fascinating cognitive glitch. Your cat likely doesn't realize you are a different species. In the wild, cats are solitary hunters. They don't have the pack hierarchy encoded into their DNA that wolves and humans share. When a dog looks at you, it sees a leader. When a cat looks at you, its brain searches its limited library of social templates and comes back with one primary result: mother, or more accurately, allomother. This is a biological term for a social caregiver that isn't the biological parent. When your cat walks toward you with its tail held high and a slight hook at the tip, it is using a greeting signal that, in the wild, is reserved exclusively for kittens and their mothers. It's a social handshake that says, "I am not a threat, and I recognize you as part of my inner circle." But the useless part of this equation, the reason your cat treats you with a mix of affection and apparent pity, comes down to your hunting skills, or lack thereof. In a feline social structure, the primary way knowledge is passed down is through the remedial kill. A mother cat will bring a half-dead mouse to her kittens so they can practice the killing bite in a controlled environment. When your cat leaves a dead bird on your doorstep or drops a toy at your feet, it isn't giving you a gift in the human sense. It is running a biological diagnostic on you and finding you lacking. It has watched you for years. It has seen you eat, but it has never seen you hunt. You don't crouch, you don't stalk, and your threat assessment is non-existent. To a cat, you are a 180-pound bag of meat that is somehow incapable of catching a single sparrow. This creates a state of metacognitive friction. The cat recognizes that you are the source of food, but its biology cannot reconcile how you obtained it. This is similar to the threat suspension observed in wild wolves or whales when rescued by humans. The animal's alarm system stalls because the human's behavior doesn't match any known predator or prey template. A human moving slowly, touching a trap instead of the animal, creates a pattern recognition failure. Your cat lives in a permanent state of this failure. You are too big to be prey, but you are too clumsy and nice to be an apex predator. So the cat's brain settles on the only logical conclusion left. You are a large, slightly deformed, and incredibly lucky cat that somehow stumbled into a surplus of tuna. Consider the mirror test, the gold standard for self-awareness. While some primates and elephants pass it by recognizing that the reflection is them, cats notoriously fail it. They either ignore the reflection or treat it as a hostile stranger. This lack of visual self-modeling suggests that cats don't build an internal image of what they look like. If they don't know they are small and furry, and they don't have a human category for you, the physical difference between a 10-pound tabby and a 200-pound human is effectively invisible to their social brain. They are the only animals that have managed to move into our homes without actually acknowledging our humanity. This species-blindness is most visible in the way they talk to us. In the wild, adult cats almost never meow at each other. They use scent, body language, and high-frequency screeches. The meow is a vocalization reserved for kittens to get their mother's attention. Yet your cat meows at you constantly. It has realized that you are deaf to its pheromones and blind to its subtle ear flicks. You are a sensory-deprived giant. To bridge the gap, it has reverted to a juvenile communication style. It is literally baby-talking you because it has calculated that you aren't sophisticated enough to understand anything else. It is a form of social engagement that sits outside the standard predator-prey template. But don't mistake this for a lack of connection. While the cat's brain may view you as a useless hunter, it also views you as an essential anchor point. In the European Journal of Wildlife Research, studies on trapped animals show that when a human's behavior doesn't match a threat signature, the animal's crisis response stalls, and it becomes unusually still. Your cat's calm in your presence is the ultimate expression of this stalled threat response. It has mapped your pattern of life, the way you move, the way you smell, the steady rhythm of your breathing, and it has decided that you are a safe zone. You are the only place in the universe where its hypervigilant brain is allowed to turn off. Every time your cat kneads your lap with its paws, a behavior known as kneading or making biscuits, it is performing a rhythmic motion that kittens use to stimulate milk flow from their mothers. This is a physiological state of total vulnerability. The cat's cortisol drops, its heart rate steadies, and it goes somewhere else, much like an animal entering a state of deep suspension. In that moment, the 180-pound human isn't a master, and the 10-pound cat isn't a pet. They are two mammals running an ancient shared program of comfort and survival. The cat isn't loving you in the way a person loves a partner. It is merging with you in the way a kitten merges with the safety of its mother. There is a concept in philosophy called qualia, the raw, subjective texture of experience. We can study a cat's brain, we can map its spindle neurons, and we can track its hunting patterns, but we can never know what it feels like to be the cat looking at you. We cannot know if the cat feels gratitude when we open a can of food, or if it simply feels that the unexplained miracle of the tuna surplus has occurred again. But we can see the results. When a wild elephant or whale is freed from a trap, they often stay near their rescuers for minutes, making deliberate physical contact that serves no biological survival function. They are acknowledging a shift in the reality of the encounter. Your cat performs this shift every single day. It chooses to remain in your presence, even though it is a creature built for the solitary wilderness. It chooses to sleep on your chest, the most vulnerable part of your body, while it is also at its most vulnerable. It is a constant suspension of threat. It has looked at the large, useless cat that is you and decided that despite your inability to catch a mouse or defend yourself against a vacuum cleaner, you are worth its most precious resource, its stillness. As we look closer at animal consciousness, the gap between us and them continues to narrow. We used to think humans were the only ones with culture, tool use, and mourning. We were wrong. We used to think cats were cold and detached. We were likely wrong about that too. They don't see us as masters because their brains don't have a box for master. They don't see us as humans because their eyes don't distinguish between a thumb and a claw. They see a companion that is bizarrely large, confusingly nice, and dangerously unskilled. And perhaps that is the greatest compliment a predator can give. In a world where every wild animal carries a threat assessment running constantly in the background, your cat has looked at you and found absolutely nothing to fear. It doesn't see you as a provider of mercy or a guardian of the house. It sees you as its equal, however incompetent you may be. It is a relationship built not on obedience, but on a profound evolutionary misunderstanding. So the next time your cat looks at you with that expression of half-lidded boredom while you struggle to put on your shoes or accidentally drop your keys, remember what is actually happening behind those eyes. It isn't judging you for being a bad human. It is worried about your future as a cat. It is wondering how a creature so large and so clumsy has survived this long without a single successful hunt to its name. And then it will likely blink slowly, turn in a circle, and go back to sleep. Not because it doesn't care, but because it has decided that as long as you are there, the threat catalog is empty, and the world is finally, for a moment, safe. And that's the big head theory. Sleep well.